I am about to tell you is not a story. It is the account of one night that shook the very foundation of my family. My father was a clerk at the county post office. In those days, his shift was during the day, but the commute from our town back to the main sorting facility and then home took him until late at night. And back then, our part of the county was remote. No proper streetlights, no cell phones, not even a reliable flashlight. Just an old kerosene lantern with a yellow flame was everything. Now, let's talk about that night. It was late October. The fields were damp with a cold drizzle, and Dad was returning from his shift, exactly at 10:30 at night. My mom, as she would every day, sat on the porch swing, waiting for him, and did the same that day. And as soon as the gate creaked open, the lantern's light came first, then Dad. But the story doesn't end here. When Mom asked, "Did you come alone?" Dad said, "Yes, why?" Then my mother said, "There was someone else 2 steps behind you. I saw clearly in the lantern light. But as soon as you stepped onto the porch steps, they vanished." Now Dad didn't say anything, just sat silently on the swing, but his face was pale, as if all the blood had drained. He didn't say much, just went inside, lay on the couch, and closed his eyes. Mom asked, "Are you feeling okay?" Dad said, "I'm tired, just want to rest a little." But the next morning, as I was coming back from checking the mailboxes down the lane, I saw Dad sitting on the steps of the small white chapel at the edge of town. That same lantern was by his side, and his eyes were completely empty. Seeing this, I went to him. "What happened, Dad? Why are you sitting here?" After staying silent for a while, my father said, "Son, that thing that followed me, it wasn't a man. I didn't see its shadow on the road. There was only the sound of footsteps on the gravel, and that too, just an echo of mine." I asked, "Then why didn't you stop? Why didn't you look?" Father said, "I glanced over my shoulder just once, and then I swore I would never look back on that road again." Now, this matter was done and over with. But after that day, Dad's habits changed. He wouldn't deadbolt the door from the inside anymore. At night, he would quietly light a candle and place it on the back deck. And the strangest thing, he would take off his work boots and turn them upside down on the mat, as if avoiding someone or tricking them. And from that same day, the atmosphere of my house started changing. My mother would light a candle on the windowsill every night. Dad was quiet now. No jokes, no smiles, just a silent face and tired eyes. One night, it was storming, and Dad was returning from checking on a neighbor's barn. I was standing on the back deck, and from a distance, I saw the faint light of the lantern coming down the lane. But this time, something felt strange. There were 2 shadows there, one long and the other somewhat hunched, as if it wasn't walking, but dragging itself. Seeing this, I thought it must be a trick of the eyes. But as soon as Dad reached near the door, Mom opened it slightly from inside and then quickly closed it. I got worried. "What happened, Mom? What happened to you?" Mom said in a trembling voice, "There was someone else standing behind your father in the lantern light. Their face wasn't visible, but their eyes weren't looking at us. They were peeking through the crack in the door. I quickly looked through the window. Dad was alone, but what Mom said couldn't be a lie. And now that lantern started feeling not like an object in our house, but like a living thing. My father would polish its glass during the day, and at night would almost treat it with reverence. And before sleeping, he would always place it on the floor in the corner, not on his nightstand. One night, we were all eating dinner. The lantern was extinguished and hung on a hook in the mudroom. But when I looked towards the deck, there was a faint light out there. First, I thought it might be the motion sensor light from next door, but that light was burned out. I slowly got up and went outside, and that lantern was burning by itself. No one had touched it. No sound of a matchstick or lighter. Just the flame was flickering, as if someone had breathed on it to light it. When I saw this, I panicked. I called out to Dad. He came running, but when he saw the lantern, his face became as if he had recognized some old fear. He didn't say anything to me, just picked up the lantern and took it inside. The next morning, when Mom was cleaning that lantern, she screamed, not like a small child's, not a full palm, just fingers, as if someone had pressed from inside the glass. Now the condition of our house was such that no one had the courage to extinguish the lantern's flame. Every night it would light by itself, and a corner in the living room had formed where no one would sit, where Dad kept that lantern. One night, Dad called me to him. I am tired now. I have no strength left from running away from it. I didn't understand my father's words, so I asked, "From whom, Dad? From whom are you running, and what are you saying?" "I don't understand." And he looked into my eyes and said, "That thing that followed me. Now it walks with me, sometimes beside me, but its feet are backwards. And it doesn't say anything, just looks at me as if I brought it here, and now it will stay here." After that day, Dad wouldn't sleep alone at night. He would say, if I fall asleep, maybe it won't let me wake up. And on the other hand, my mother would say, that a shadow would sometimes stand in the corner of the room, without warning. Sometimes the TV would flicker off. Sometimes the door would open slightly on its own. And by now, it was clear in our house that the thing that had followed Dad now lived with him. The lantern was connected to its presence. As long as that flame burned, the shadow remained limited. But the day that lantern wasn't lit, our condition would become terrible. It happened like this. It had been raining since evening that day. A storm came, and the lantern's kerosene ran out. So Dad said, "Don't light it today. Let's see what happens." But there was fear hidden in his words too. Mom tried hard to dissuade him, but he insisted. Around 2 a.m., my mother's scream was heard. I ran to Dad's room. Dad wasn't on the bed. He was lying face down on the floor, and the color of his face had turned blue, as if someone had strangled him. Mom tried to straighten him up, and then you saw something on the back of his neck. Deep blue marks of 5 fingers, exactly like a human hand, but those fingers were long and crooked. Dad's eyes opened, and he just said one thing, "It won't let me go now." I asked, trembling, "What happened, Dad?" He said, "When I was sleeping, someone came to my ear and said, You are not alone now. You have become like me. And after that day, even Dad's way of speaking changed. Slow, sluggish, and halting, as if he was speaking, but the voice belonged to someone else. A day the blue finger marks were found on Dad's neck. It was as if something inside him had broken. Now when he spoke, it wasn't his voice. Someone else could be heard. And that evening, he did something that completely stunned us all. Mom and I were in the kitchen when suddenly a crashing sound came. We ran to the room and saw the lantern was lying shattered on the floor, the kerosene spilling and seeping into the floorboards. Dad was sitting in the corner. Eyes were open, but his gaze was elsewhere. I screamed loudly. "What happened, Dad? Why did you break the lantern?" Then he said very softly, "Now I am not afraid of the light. Now the darkness feels like my own." Hearing this, my hair stood on end. Dad, who used to keep that lantern like an object of worship, was now breaking it himself. My mother said, "Something has gotten into him. We need to do something." But now Dad wouldn't listen to anyone. That same night, he locked his room from the inside, and when we knocked on the door in the morning, there was no answer. Then 2 men from town were brought. The door was broken down. Dad was sitting on the bed inside, but his eyes were closed, and in his hand was a shard of the broken lantern's glass. There were faint bloodstains on it. Seeing Dad's condition, we took him to a doctor. We took him to a pastor too. Everyone said, "What you have brought is now just a body. There is someone else inside now." That night, I saw Dad's shadow inverted for the first time. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, but the shadow on the wall was standing, perfectly straight, but its head was slightly tilted, as if dangling from the neck. My mother was completely broken. She would cry all night and just say, "Someone has taken my husband. There is someone else inside him." But the final blow came when Dad said one night, sitting by the window, "You all go away for a few days, because what is inside me now doesn't like anyone else." We all left town and went to my aunt's house in the next state. We returned after 15 days. The house was locked. The neighbors told us, "Your father left somewhere just 3 days later. Didn't tell anyone, didn't take anything." And now it's been 10 years. Even today, if ever at night a stranger is seen walking the old county road with a broken lantern in hand, people shut their doors, because the town's kids say someone else also follows behind him, but remains unseen.